second episode of Rex and Dimps Wedlocked.
Yeah.
It's been a special week for us. We launched last week, our first video, and we got some great feedback, right?
Thank you so much for everyone who gave us feedback. Thank you.
Yes, so we have been watching that video over and over for the past week. Just like over, next, again, go back again. So it's been interesting. One of the things that popped up in that video, I think, for us is the intro, actually.
The pictures at the beginning.
Yeah, the pictures popping up for us. I think it's reminded us of the old days, because a lot of those pictures are like before marriage or wedding day.
Wedding day.
Yeah, so like 5 years, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
One of them, especially the first one.
Yeah. We never really look at our old pictures. I realized that we've never really gone to like see us or each other or individually before we got married. Yeah, it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was a great reflection. I think we ended up talking about those days. Like those initial days where like we are not quite new to each other, but like the wedding day is right there.
Yeah.
It's coming. So it's like what kind of a husband did I want to be back then? Because everybody you're looking forward to marriage, and you have this idea of the kind of person you're going to be in marriage, the kind of husband you're going to be, the kind of wife you're going to be. You have goals. Some of us, we had vision boards, like I'm going to be this guy. But like the reality of it, what is the reality of it when you get into it? So we wanted to just really compare those two experiences and see how far have I gone and what are some of those things that have changed. Do you want to start first?
No, go ahead.
Cool. So like thinking about the Rex who's like getting into marriage is soon going to be like I had like a vision like of the kind of husband I wanted to be coming into marriage. Like I had already seen myself that I'm going to be the dream husband, like ultra disciplined. My wife is still sleeping. I'm up early in the morning in the kitchen cooking. She wakes up to like an aroma of like, bacon and eggs, and I'm like, honey, wifey, come into the kitchen. So I really had like a high benchmark for myself. I wanted to be perfect and to be very like reliable and very like, if you need to go to town, I can quickly pull out my card. Here it is, love, go and have fun, go do you. But like the reality of it is that who you are really plays out a lot. Like I grew up in a lovely home, but also quite strict and rigid, Christian home. My parents did a great job of keeping us in the home, but part of that is that I became quite strict with how I want my family to be. So I found myself, rather than being like the cool husband, I was like the strict husband. Like, we're not going to spend this much. Keep the wallet in the pocket. We're not going to do this. No. And become very like, at some points, a little controlling, I think, as well. If I think about especially one of the early days, where you would have wanted to, or the family would have wanted to have more fun, go out a little bit more, do some of the things that are like normal to do, and I would have been like, man, why are we doing that? Why can't we just do this, do that? Stay in the home and, spend time in the home when there's like a whole life to live out there, you know what I mean? So it was just so interesting to think about that then and think about where I am now, like having realized that life is just not always about the strict discipline. You gotta give yourself days where you're flexible, days where you stay in bed, sleep in. I think I only knew the term sleep in our marriage, like, and relax and have a Netflix day. Those are some of the things that I actually picked up from you. It's been such an interesting journey just looking at that, like, 5 years ago and now. And the journey to come here and the journey that still needs to continue, because I'm nowhere near the kind of husband and father that I want to be. And also one of the things that I do appreciate though about the Rex, the Dreamer Rex, is that I do think there's a lot of merit in having that balance, I think a family does benefit from like a disciplined father, a committed father. And in as much as I used to overdo that, I don't want to lose that completely. I want to have strike that balance.
It's also an important lesson I'm hearing there is that, you know, we must never take for granted who we are, like our life habits, how we grew up, the things we picked up from our parents, our upbringing, because it also sounds like sometimes who we are can often come in between who we want to be.
Yeah.
Because you have this idea of, you know, I want to become this person, but you know your habit self will always like play out what it's used to playing out.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. For me, I think one of the things we thought of, and I really appreciate that we're having this conversation, because you know we there's things that you just move and you forget about, you know. Is I remember when after you proposed and you know we were getting ready for the wedding. Oh gosh, it's a very exciting time. I think everyone who's gone through it can agree. That time leading up to yes, there's stress, but the feeling is good, man. It was good, and I had an idea of the kind of wife I wanted to be. I wanted to be a homemaker. I wanted to be the wife who cooks like a Stepford wife, who cooks, who has lunches that are cut out in the shapes of hearts and have little eyes, and I have an apron and I send my husband off to work with like a nice pack and he's dressed, I fix his tie, and you know, I create a beautiful home. And to a certain extent, I still hold a lot of aspects of that, but I've had to challenge myself around that a lot. But anyway, but specifically, I knew what kind of home I wanted to set up. I knew what I wanted my home to look like. So me, it's like, you know, it's time to wife. I need to wife now. And leading up to the marriage, I'd saved up. I'd spent countless of nights on Pinterest. Like looking at color schemes, looking at, you know, decor, how I'll place things, you know, studying feng shui. And we got married, and I used to stay in my own apartment, and I gave away everything. I gave away my couch, my flat screen, my fridge, dishes. Listen, I gave away because I wanted to start from scratch, you know. And I remember we got our apartment, and we moved in, and there was no furniture. But, you know, it still felt good. It was like, it's the beginning. And we had all these gifts. And now it was time to buy furniture. And so we started listing, okay, we're going to get this from there. And I'd already researched, we're going to get the TV from there. I've seen a special there, And you were like, we're going to spend all that money on furniture and flat screens and fridges. And I was like, yes. And like, that's where we had our first major difference or disagreement, because his idea was, no, we need to save and invest that money. And I was like, no, save and invest money when we don't have a couch, or when we can't watch anything, or where our house looks blank. No, otherwise, what's the point of enjoying life? You know, like enjoy. You know, I was of that perspective, and you know, we had a huge argument. We debated, and he disagreed a lot. But I think eventually, my husband, he let me get away with it, because I think you saw how passionate.
After brutal,
But we went. I remember it was Black Friday at Game. We went midnight.
Sure.
The guy told us, listen, Black Friday starts at midnight. Come at midnight, and it was open. And we went. We got a flat screen for like a huge discount. And we got stuff, a washing machine, we got this. And, you know, our house looked beautiful, but I think a year or a few months into that, actually, because we fell pregnant soon after we got married, the reality of finances hit. Like, we needed that money.
Like, for real.
We were not on medical aid. We needed to see a gynecologist every month. We needed all sorts of things. And also, we are artists, so we work a lot. We're consultants. So contracts are not permanent. I think my contract was coming to an end at that point. And now we started, you know, freaking out around what's going to happen 6 months from now. If we, you know, rent.
When the baby comes.
Or where is the baby going to be born? Because, you know, everyone wants their child to be born in a decent, proper place. And I realized the importance of saving and investing at that point. And I think that's the lesson I learned is, our ideas of how a home should be were different. Your home, your idea or your perspective of homemaking was provision. Like, we need to have a source of, sustenance. We need to have means to pay rent. We need to have means for medical care or health care. And for me is it was different. And I think in that we learned to compromise. I mean, even in this house that we stay in now, we recently moved in. I had the, look, this. And recently, because our bedroom is also our office or our study, like I rearranged the desk and the lamp and and my brain just went like, I freaked out a little bit inside. But in my head, I was like, give it a couple of days, see if you like it. So I was like, okay, cool, let's see it for a couple of days. And then after like 3 days, I was like, oh, actually, let's keep it, I would have never done that. I would have never done that before. So I think, those are some of the lessons, I wanted to be this kind of wife and create my home in this way. But I wasn't coming into a home alone by myself, it was you, and you bring your own self, and
No, I mean it's interesting because no one really spoke to us about this. No one told me like, yo, dude, like you're rushing. Relax. You're not going to be that. So no one told us about that. And we did a little bit of premarital counseling here and there. But like, I was unprepared for what was lying ahead and the expectations that I had for myself. I wish someone would have been able to whisper like, hey man, listen, there are mountains that you're not prepared for to climb. And even like very simple and small things like like going back to just being the dream guy, wanting to like open doors for you. Like when last did I open a door for you?
It's been a while.
It's been So like I used to like literally picture myself opening doors for my wife every single trip. And like, you get into marriage and you're like, I'm already on like 2 and my wife is behind like, hey baby, you know what I mean? It's like that's how I thought. And I mean, there are certain things that have gotten better. Like it took me, like, so we said this last week, we're doing a 5 years this year, 26th of November. But it took me 4 years to figure out that my wife absolutely adores flowers. Like it took me 4 years to pin that down. I was never like, she needs flowers
and
for
I
what?
hinted,
she
flowers. These flowers look nice. Anyway.
Yeah, so it took a while, and I think now I'm okay there.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay.
I should take a tour. I should take them on a tour around the house. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different flowers that you got recently.
It's learning, and I know that there are things that are going to be positive from you that are going to rub off on me. I would have allowed that process to happen sooner, rather than fighting. This is the way to do it, and you like, this is the way to do it. So it's just growth pains. Like we spoke about it last week. It's things that you only figure out on the job.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you
dreams
you had like?
Is to be like a sexy in shape wife. It's anyone who knows me knows I've put on weight. I'm not chubby or not fat or anything, but I used to be much smaller. Like I used to be like a size 28, 30, and now I'm like a 34, in denial of 36 type of person. And it's not only cause...
Which is like really tiny. Like a lot of women go like, what are you complaining about?
No, obviously, but we're different. Someone who's a size 30 can still feel like they've put on weight, but it's not up to me to say, hold on. As long as you're not putting someone else down. Like there are people who are a size 38, 40 who look good. Like they have a tiny waist and are like curvaceous, but they're size 38 and they look, for me, is a few more comfortable. I mean, you want to dress up and not feel like your tummy's flabby or whatever it may be. And I'll say it wasn't caused only by the fact that I'm a mother now, but us guys, we enjoy food.
It's a problem.
We enjoy food because we eat cakes, we eat baked goods, we love chicken licking, we love chocolates, we love dessert. And I never used to be a sugar person, but guys,
I think that's my fault.
yo, guys, I'm into sugar now. I'm into sugar. I blame my husband and my mother-in-law. Yeah, it's just some of the things. It's when you meet someone, you also and I always used to rub it in your face. I used to be a healthy person. I used to wake up and jog every morning, and now like a good day for me is takeouts, like snacks, couch, chill, chat. You know, some things you need to. Like, I won't be comfortable with not having a body I like, but you learn to live with it, man. Like, it's life. It's life. Yeah, it's life.
It's learning to give yourself permission not to be perfect.
Exactly.
And like it's just like it's step at a time, and some things take years.
Yeah.
But I think for me that's really been my journey so far. It's giving myself permission to relax and to breathe and to not give up on those ideals. To keep striving to be the best, but not to punish yourself if you're in a process of becoming that. That punishment sort of psyche is not healthy for anyone and for any marriage. So you uphold that standard that you want. You say, this is where I want to be, and you don't give up on that. You continue to look at it and say, this is what I'm working towards. But you don't punish yourself. You allow yourself to grow into it.
I think it's really interesting to think about. It's really, really interesting to think about, who the promises you made to yourself, and if you are keeping those promises, and if you're realistic about keeping those promises. Because sometimes we set unfair expectations for ourselves and our partners. When reality is just that, it's reality. And sometimes we resist the lessons that come with reality because we're so stuck up on living up to this expectation. So thank you so much for listening to us, everyone. I think that's it for today. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, please share with your family and friends, and we look forward to catching up again next time.
Next week.
Next week, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.